Have you ever sat beside a quiet stream and simply observed its movement? The way the water glides over rocks, gently curves around bends, caresses the banks, and continues on its way, never forceful, yet never failing. That river isn't struggling to get somewhere, and yet it always arrives. It does not resist obstacles, but finds ways around them. This is not just nature's poetry. It is a profound philosophical insight that Eastern sages have long contemplated. The river, in its unassuming persistence and harmony, reveals the essence of Wu Wei, the art of effortless action. In our modern culture of deadlines, ambition, competition, and constant motion, the very idea of achieving something without trying feels naive, even absurd. We've been taught that effort is everything, that pushing harder yields better results. And in many cases, it does. But have you noticed that sometimes when you let go of control of fear of expectations, things align? Opportunities arise. Clarity emerges. People respond differently. Energy shifts. This isn't coincidence. It's the ancient and subtle force of Wu Wei at work. Wu Wei, often translated as non-action or effortless action, doesn't mean doing nothing. Rather, it means taking action in perfect harmony with the flow of life rather than pushing against it. It's a way of being that arises from deep presence, heightened awareness, and radical trust in the natural unfolding of things. In Wu Wei, action comes not from pressure but from alignment. Not from force, but from fluidity. You are not abandoning your goals. You are realizing them without war. The paradox is striking: in not trying so hard, you may get further. In letting go, you may gain more. The tree doesn't strain to grow, yet it reaches to the sky. The sun never hurries, yet it rises right on time. Wu Wei is nature's secret. It is what happens when you learn to flow with life rather than against it. This book is an invitation to return to that rhythm. To understand Wu Wei, we must step back into the mists of ancient China, into bamboo forests, serene mountains, and the early days of Taoist thought. The roots of Wu Wei lie in one of the world's most profound and poetic philosophical traditions, Taoism or Taoism. At the heart of Taoism is a mysterious concept called the Tao Dao, which literally means the way. The Tao is not a deity or a dogma. It is the unnameable force behind all things. It is the silent rhythm of the universe, the pathless path that all life follows. Everything that exists, stars, rivers, trees, emotions, thoughts, flows in accordance with the Tao. You can't see it or touch it, but you can feel it. It's in the way autumn leaves fall. It's in the silence between heartbeats. It's in the way your breath rises and falls without effort. The most famous source of Taoist wisdom is the Tao Te Ching, written around the 6th century BCE by the sage Lao Tzu. This text, composed of just 81 short chapters, is like a riddle for the soul. It speaks in paradox and poetry, in deep truths cloaked in silence. And one of its recurring themes is Wu Wei. Lao Tzu writes, "The Tao never acts yet. Nothing is left undone." Tao Te Ching. Chapter 37. When nothing is done, nothing is left undone. Tao Te Ching. Chapter 48. What does this mean? It means that when your actions are aligned with the Tao, you no longer need to force outcomes. Life supports your movement. The Tao does not resist itself. It flows. And so should we. Wu Wei then is not about inaction. It's about non-forced action. It's the art of acting in harmony with nature. It's how a fish swims, how a bird flies, how a skilled dancer moves not with effort, but with grace. When we act from Wu Wei, we do not resist the moment. We become one with it. Taoist sages believe that the more we try to control life, the more we suffer. When we let go and trust the Tao, life begins to work for us. This is not mysticism, it is deep psychological wisdom. It means knowing when to push and when to pause, when to act and when to wait, when to speak and when to stay silent. In that balance lies power. To live in Wu Wei is to be in harmony with the Tao. But what is this mysterious Tao, and how can we know it? Lao Tzu begins the Tao Te Ching with these cryptic lines. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. Tao Te Ching. Chapter 1. The Tao is not something you can grasp with the mind. It is not a concept to be pinned down. It is the essence behind all things, the source from which everything arises and to which everything returns. You can think of it as the natural intelligence of the universe, the same force that makes the grass grow, that turns the tide, that spins the galaxies. It has no form, yet gives birth to form. It is still yet in constant motion. To flow with the Tao means to trust this intelligence. It means to stop resisting the moment, to surrender the need to always know, always control. It means living with the awareness that life is inherently wise, and if we listen closely, it will guide us. Wu Wei emerges as the way to move within this larger dance. You begin to feel the rhythm of things. You sense when to move forward and when to hold back. You develop a sensitivity to timing, to energy, to context. This is not learned through books, but through living attentively. When you live in accordance with the Tao, you don't swim against the current, you let the current carry you. You don't try to force results. You cultivate the conditions for results to arise. You don't impose your will, you align with the will of life. The Tao is both the path and the way to walk the path. Wu Wei is how we travel it with grace, humility, and presence. It's easy to misinterpret Wu Wei. At first glance, non-action might sound like passivity or indifference. Does this mean we should just sit around and do nothing? Let life happen to us? Absolutely not. Wu Wei is not about doing nothing. It's about not doing anything unnecessary. It's about moving only when the movement is right. It is action stripped of ego effort, without strain motion, guided by the moment. Think of a skilled musician improvising. They're not calculating every note. They're not frozen by overthinking. Their fingers move naturally across the keys. They listen, they feel, they respond. That's Wu Wei. Or imagine a martial artist in battle. They don't force their movements. They wait, they watch. They respond with precision, timing, and flow. They use the opponent's energy to their advantage. They move with the situation, not against it. Wu Wei then is not passive inaction, laziness or avoidance, escapism or denial. Instead, Wu Wei is action in alignment with nature, effort that feels effortless, stillness that holds power, sensitivity to right timing. Wu Wei is also a psychological state. It is the absence of inner conflict. When you're in Wu Wei, your actions are free of resistance. There is no friction between what you want and what is. You're not doubting, second-guessing, or over-planning. You simply act, and your action arises from a deeper intelligence than thought. To practice Wu Wei, you must learn to trust your own nature. Not the ego or the reactive mind, but your inner Tao, your intuition, your presence, your deep sense of timing and rhythm. In short, Wu Wei is the art of doing the right thing in the right way at the right time without forcing it. If there is one symbol that captures the essence of Wu Wei perfectly, it is water. Lao Tzu wrote, "Nothing in the world is as soft and yielding as water. Yet, for dissolving the hard and inflexible, nothing can surpass it." Tao Te Ching. Chapter 78. Water is gentle, and yet it wears down stone. It is soft, but nothing can resist it in the long run. It doesn't fight, yet it overcomes. It doesn't boast, yet it reshapes the world. This is the power of Wu Wei. Observe water carefully. It takes the shape of whatever contains it. It seeks the lowest place, avoiding conflict and competition. It flows around obstacles instead of trying to smash through them. It is quiet, subtle, humble, and unstoppable. This is why Taoist sages revered water. It represents the perfect balance of strength and softness. It teaches us how to move through life without violence, without excess, without resistance. It shows us how to yield without breaking, how to move without forcing. Water's wisdom reminds us, you don't need to be aggressive to be powerful. You don't need to dominate to succeed. You don't need to control to influence. In practicing Wu Wei, you become like water. You learn to adapt, to flow, to bend without losing yourself. You remain clear, calm, and grounded even when the world around you is in chaos. The river never rushes yet, it always arrives. The rain falls silently, yet it nourishes all life. In the softness of water lies a strength far greater than force. That is the hidden beauty of Wu Wei. Though Wu Wei was born in Taoist, thought its spirit echoes across Asia, most notably in Zen Buddhism, which blossomed in China as Chan, before flowering in Japan as Zen. While Zen does not use the term Wu Wei directly, its entire way of life is imbued with its essence. Zen is the practice of direct immediate awareness, being here now fully, without clinging, without resistance, without striving. The central paradox of Zen is that it teaches no technique, no dogma. Instead, it asks you to drop everything that is unnecessary, including effort. One of Zen's purest practices is shikantaza, which means just sitting. It sounds simple, but it is one of the most profound and challenging meditative forms. In shikantaza, you do not concentrate on breath, chant mantras, or visualize anything. You simply sit completely present, doing nothing, not even trying to meditate. You watch thoughts rise and fall like clouds. You do not follow them. You do not reject them. You let everything be as it is. In this act of total receptivity, something astonishing occurs. The mind begins to quiet not through force, but through deep acceptance. The more you try to make the mind quiet, the more agitated it becomes. But when you let go of trying, when you simply allow, the stillness arises naturally. That's Wu Wei. Zen speaks of the original face, the pure, spontaneous, unconditioned self that exists before thought. To reach this face, one must abandon seeking. In fact, Zen teachers often scold students for trying too hard to become enlightened. Effort itself becomes the barrier. The Zen master Rinzai once said, "If you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him." What he meant was, don't cling even to your idea of enlightenment. Don't turn the path into another form of ego. Let go. Be here. Like Wu Wei, Zen invites us into non-striving. It teaches that the ultimate realization is not achieved but uncovered like the sun behind clouds. You don't make it appear. You simply stop blocking it. In modern life, this means creating space to simply be. It means eating with attention, walking without rushing, listening fully, working without letting anxiety hijack your mind. Zen and Wu Wei together show us that in the stillness of presence, life begins to act through us, not because we're pushing, but because we are aligned. While Taoism and Zen speak of flowing with nature and letting go, Hindu philosophy, particularly in the Bhagavad Gita, offers a powerful articulation of non-attached action, or nishkama karma. This concept is startlingly similar to Wu Wei. In the Bhagavad Gita, the warrior Arjuna faces a moral and spiritual crisis. He must go to war against his own relatives and teachers. Paralyzed by doubt, he turns to his charioteer Krishna, who is also the divine embodiment of cosmic wisdom. Krishna tells Arjuna, "You have the right to act, but never to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities." Bhagavad Gita 2:47. This is the core of nishkama karma: do your duty, but release attachment to outcomes. Act sincerely with intention, with full presence, but don't cling to what happens next. This doesn't mean apathy, it means freedom. You act not out of greed, fear, or ego, but from a place of alignment, of service, of deeper clarity. The results are left to the universe. This mirrors Wu Wei in a powerful way. Just as the Taoist doesn't push against the flow, the Gita teaches that striving for outcomes traps us in suffering. When you act with craving, you become enslaved by success and destroyed by failure. But when you act without attachment, you become invincible. Krishna also teaches that inaction is not the goal. Avoiding action out of fear or confusion is not spiritual. What matters is acting with purity, without possessiveness. Wu Wei and nishkama karma both call us to refine our inner compass, to act when it is time to act, to rest when it is time to rest, and to hold neither pride nor despair over the results. Imagine applying this in your own life. You prepare for an interview but let go of obsessing over getting the job. You help someone generously without needing praise or return. You create something beautiful not for fame but for the act itself. In that surrender, a higher order of living begins. And your actions paradoxically become more powerful because they're no longer tainted by ego. If the East has taught us to listen to the rhythm of life, the West has taught us to dominate it. The contrast is stark and revealing. In the Western paradigm, especially post-Enlightenment and through the Industrial Revolution, action equals power. To conquer, to control, to progress has become the Holy Trinity. Success is earned through sweat competition planning and optimization. The self is seen as a master of fate, the mind as a tool of domination. We speak of crushing goals, beating deadlines, hustling harder. Time is money. Rest is weakness. The ideal individual is autonomous, productive, ever-achieving. There is brilliance in this approach. It built civilizations. It led to stunning innovation. But it also created a generation of exhausted achievers, people who are rich in metrics and poor in meaning. The Eastern worldview offers a profound counterpoint. In Taoism, Zen, and Vedanta, the self is not a controller, but a participant in a larger flow. Wisdom lies not in conquest, but in harmony. The hero is not the warrior, but the sage, calm fluid aligned with the Tao. This contrast plays out in education. Western schools emphasize competition and results. Eastern philosophies emphasize contemplation and self-realization. Medicine. The West attacks illness aggressively. Eastern systems like Ayurveda or traditional Chinese medicine seek balance and harmony within the whole. Work culture. Western businesses push productivity. Eastern traditions, when honored, prioritize rhythms, seasonal cycles, and restorative pauses. This is not a call to reject Western achievement, but to balance it. Wu Wei doesn't say, don't act. It says, act in alignment. It says, let your doing arise from your being. To live in harmony, we must ask deeper questions. What am I truly seeking? Is this ambition coming from clarity or insecurity? Can I allow space rather than fill every moment? Am I in rhythm with life or racing against it? When we integrate Eastern awareness with Western skill, something beautiful happens. We gain effortless excellence. We move from burnout to brilliance, from control to co-creation. We live in an era obsessed with optimization. There's an app for every habit, a tracker for every metric, a productivity hack for every task. And yet beneath the polished surface, many are quietly unraveling. Anxiety is epidemic. Burnout is normalized. Rest is earned like a rare reward. In this landscape, the wisdom of Wu Wei sounds like heresy. What if trying less got you further? But the modern world is addicted to effort. The subconscious belief is, if I stop pushing, everything will fall apart. This is the great fear. It's why we keep striving, performing, pretending, even when our bodies are tired and our souls are aching. But let's question this belief. Have you ever tried to solve a problem with increasing frustration only to have the solution appear when you stop thinking? Had a creative breakthrough while doing something unrelated? Not chased a person and they came closer? Slept on a decision and clarity arose? These moments aren't random. They are glimpses into a deeper truth. Life flows better when we stop forcing it. The need to constantly push arises from insecurity, the fear that we're not enough unless we prove it. Wu Wei dissolves that fear by teaching us that you are not your output. Life is not a race. Rest is not laziness, it is part of the rhythm. Studies in neuroscience and psychology support this. The default mode network active during rest generates insight, creativity, and problem solving. Over-effort activates stress hormones that narrow thinking. Strategic pausing, on the other hand, expands awareness. Wu Wei asks us to unlearn the compulsion to interfere, to become comfortable with silence, to trust the intelligence of the moment. This is not passive resignation. It is active surrender. And in that surrender, we rediscover something the modern world forgets: the joy of simply being. It's easy to relegate Wu Wei to poetic abstraction, to assume that in the real world only effort works. But modern science tells a different story, one that aligns astonishingly with Taoist wisdom. Enter the flow state, a concept pioneered by psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Flow is that feeling when you're fully immersed in a task, time disappears, self-consciousness vanishes, and action flows naturally. It's the state of peak performance and deep joy. Sound familiar? It should. Flow is Western science's version of Wu Wei. Flow occurs when Skill and challenge are balanced, not too easy, not too hard. Distractions fall away. The sense of self dissolves. Action feels effortless, spontaneous, joyful. It's what athletes call being in the zone, what musicians feel in improvisation, what writers describe when the words pour out like water. Csikszentmihalyi found that people who experience flow regularly are more fulfilled, more creative, less anxious, more productive, not from grinding but from immersing. Wu Wei and flow both teach that forced effort blocks brilliance. True power comes from presence. The mind, when aligned, becomes a channel for something deeper. You can't enter flow by trying harder. You enter by letting go of judgment of outcome of resistance. You merge with the task. You become the act. To cultivate flow, choose activities that challenge you slightly beyond your current level. Eliminate distractions. Set clear goals but release attachment to results. Immerse fully, no multitasking. Rest deeply. This is the Tao in action. Science and spirit, east and west, united in truth. As we move forward, the invitation is clear: align, immerse, and let go. For in the effortless rhythm of flow, we become who we already are. Free, creative, alive. There's a silent force within many of us that compels us to control. We plan, predict, persuade, push all in the hope that our actions will bend reality into our favor. This isn't always conscious. It arises from fear, fear of uncertainty, fear of failure, fear of loss. But ironically, it is this very need for control that creates the tension we're trying to avoid. Wu Wei, the art of effortless action, asks us to do something radical: let go. Letting go doesn't mean abandoning responsibility or becoming indifferent. It means releasing the illusion that we can force life to obey us. It means trusting the intelligence of the moment. It means allowing life to flow through us, not merely trying to shape it from the outside. Consider the metaphor of a clenched fist. When we grip tightly, we lose sensitivity. We lose the ability to feel, to respond, to dance with the subtle movements of the moment. Letting go is the opening of the hand, not to drop everything, but to receive. One of the great teachings of Taoism is that life is already moving in the right direction. Our job is not to force that movement, but to align with it. Control is brittle. Trust is fluid. This principle applies everywhere. In conversations, instead of pushing your opinion, can you listen deeper? In decision-making, can you sit in uncertainty long enough for clarity to arise? In failure, can you surrender the outcome? Learn and let go of shame. The practice of non-resistance doesn't mean inaction. It means wise engagement. When things aren't going your way, Wu Wei teaches you to ask, is this the moment to act or to yield? Sometimes stepping aside is the most powerful action you can take. Letting go becomes a form of intelligence, a refined skill. It transforms how we relate to others, to challenges, to time. It invites a calm, quiet power into our lives, a power born not of control, but of trust. Nowhere is our impulse to control more evident than in our relationships. We want to be loved, understood, respected. And when we don't receive these things, we push, we demand, we manipulate sometimes without even realizing it. Wu Wei offers a radical reimagining of love. What if love is not something we do, but something we allow? In a Wu Wei relationship, love is not forced, it flows. Connection arises naturally without coercion. Communication happens without rigid scripts. Growth occurs without ultimatums. Let's consider the difference. Forceful love says, change for me. Effortless love says, I see you. Grow as you must. This doesn't mean tolerating abuse or passivity in the face of harm. Wu Wei doesn't ask us to become doormats. It asks us to become mirrors, reflective, present, unattached. When you act from Wu Wei in your relationships, you listen deeply without preparing your rebuttal. You speak truthfully, but with softness. You allow space for yourself, for the other, for the mystery between you. Taoism teaches that relationship is like water, fluid, adaptive, nourishing. If you try to grip it, it slips through your fingers. If you allow it, it nourishes everything. Consider the way trees grow side by side. They don't suffocate each other. Their roots intertwine below, while above they stretch independently toward the sun. That is the Wu Wei model of love interdependence without entanglement. In conflict, Wu Wei asks us to pause, to observe, to breathe, To ask, what am I trying to force here? What can I allow instead? Sometimes the greatest love is letting someone walk their path even if it diverges from yours. Sometimes it is in our stillness that others finally feel safe to unfold. Love in its highest form does not possess, it frees. In a world driven by deadlines, key performance indicators, and inbox zero, the workplace often feels like the last place for spiritual philosophy. But Wu Wei isn't limited to mountaintops or monasteries. It belongs in boardrooms, classrooms, and creative studios. True productivity, as many are slowly discovering, is not about how much you do, but how aligned you are when you do it. Alignment is the quiet secret behind all great work. And Wu Wei is alignment in action. Let's redefine work. It's not constant output, it's meaningful contribution. It's not activity for its own sake, it's engagement with purpose. It's not perfectionism, it's presence. When you bring Wu Wei into your work, you stop multitasking and give your full presence to one task. You trust your intuition and let ideas unfold rather than chase them. You allow pauses, moments where inspiration, not obligation, guides you. Consider how nature works. Trees grow at the right pace in the right season. Animals don't set alarms. The tide doesn't hustle. Yet everything gets done. Now compare this to the typical day at the office. Back-to-back meetings, endless emails, shallow work spread thin. Burnout isn't from working hard, it's from working misaligned. Wu Wei invites us to shift from force to flow. Instead of pushing a team, you inspire them with clarity and calm. Instead of micromanaging, you create an environment of trust and autonomy. Instead of overplanning, you leave space for serendipity. Some of the most successful people on earth attribute their breakthroughs not to effort but to stillness. Steve Jobs took long walks to make major decisions. Einstein came up with theories while playing violin. Great leaders often listen more than they speak. Wu Wei is not passivity. It's efficient elegance. It's doing what needs to be done, nothing more, nothing less. It's smart action, timed perfectly, rooted in presence. When we work with Wu Wei, we don't just become more effective, we become more joyful, more at peace, more alive. If there is one virtue our age desperately needs, it is patience. We live in the culture of the instant messaging, instant streaming, instant gratification. We've been trained to expect things now. But the Tao does not rush. Lao Tzu wrote, "Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished." Wu Wei thrives on timing. Not calendar timing, natural timing. In Taoism, there is a term shy which refers to the perfect moment to act. Just as a surfer waits for the wave, so too must we learn to wait not passively but attentively. There is an art to waiting. It is not laziness. It is presence. It is the discipline to trust that growth takes time. Clarity needs space. Beauty emerges in stillness. A seed does not bloom the day it's planted. Rushing it kills it. And yet, in our lives, we rush so many things. We rush love out of loneliness. We rush decisions out of fear. We rush healing out of discomfort. But life has its rhythm. The moon waxes and wanes. The tides rise and fall. Our own breath flows in and out. Why should our life be any different? Wu Wei teaches us to become timing sensitive, to know when to act and when to wait, when to speak and when to remain silent, when to push and when to pause. In waiting, we practice faith, not religious faith, but the inner knowing that life is unfolding as it must, that not everything needs our interference, that not knowing is okay. Think of a master archer. They do not release the arrow until the moment is perfect. Too early and it fails. Too late and it's lost. Wu Wei is the poise before the release. Patience is not inaction. It is restraint with awareness. It is the willingness to trust the invisible forces at play. And when the time comes, you will know. The body knows. The heart knows. The Tao knows. Modern life is obsessed with planning. Calendars, routines, to-do lists, apps to track the apps that manage our time. We have become so obsessed with managing life that we have forgotten how to live it. Wu Wei is an invitation to return to simplicity. Not just minimalism in the aesthetic sense, but in the spiritual sense, stripping away the unnecessary. Returning to essence. Relearning spontaneity. The Tao Te Ching says, "In the pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added. In the pursuit of the Tao, every day something is dropped." We have added so much expectations, anxieties, schedules, personas. Wu Wei asks, what can you let go of? Simplicity is not about having less. It's about being more present. It's about removing friction, clutter, distractions so that your true self can emerge. When you're not burdened by mental noise, you become more responsive, more alive, more attuned. And from this simplicity comes something magical: spontaneity. Children live this way naturally. They don't overthink, they respond, they trust the moment. They cry when it hurts. They laugh when it's funny. This is Wu Wei in its purest form, life unfiltered. We lost that spontaneity not because we grew up, but because we grew rigid. We believed we had to control everything. But life is not a problem to be solved. It's a mystery to be danced with. To practice Wu Wei through simplicity and spontaneity, take breaks from planning. Let a day unfold. Say no to things that don't feel right, even if they look good on paper. Trust your intuition more than your itinerary. Do something unproductive just because it brings joy. Simplicity isn't boring. It's liberating. It gives you space to breathe, to play, to feel. It brings you back to the present where life actually happens. When you live simply, you move with clarity. When you act spontaneously, you act truthfully. And in that dance, Wu Wei becomes not just a philosophy, but your way of being. Wu Wei begins not in the world, but within you. While much of the Taoist philosophy speaks of nature, rivers, clouds, and wind, its deepest invitation is personal. Are you aligned with your true self? To act effortlessly is not simply to flow with external events. It is to flow from a place of inner clarity. Inner alignment is the quiet harmony between your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. It is when who you are and what you do are no longer separate. Most of us live fragmented lives. We say one thing, feel another, and do something entirely different. This dissonance creates tension. We are not lying, but we are not whole. Wu Wei dissolves this fragmentation. It does not require that you try to be authentic. It invites you to stop being inauthentic. The difference is profound. Authenticity is not a performance, it's a return. A return to the core of who you are, beneath fear, beneath conditioning, beneath the masks. To walk the path of inner alignment, you must become aware of your true values, not those imposed by society. You must listen deeply to your inner compass, not external validation. You must stop forcing yourself to live someone else's life. This may mean shedding identities, roles, or ambitions that no longer resonate. It may mean saying no more often. It may mean silence in rooms that reward noise. But it will feel right. You'll feel a soft click inside, like puzzle pieces falling into place. From this place, action arises naturally. Decisions become clear. Creativity flows. Relationships become less performative and more connected. Even challenges feel different, not battles to be won, but currents to be navigated. When your outer life reflects your inner truth, Wu Wei becomes second nature. You stop acting. You become the action. We have been sold a narrow definition of strength. We imagine muscles, dominance, unshakable certainty. In business, politics, even personal development, power is often portrayed as aggression, conquest, and absolute control. But the Tao teaches otherwise. Lao Tzu wrote, "The soft overcomes the hard. The gentle overcomes the rigid." Everyone knows this, yet few can practice it. This is the paradox of real strength. Softness is stronger than force. Not because it overpowers, but because it outlasts. Look at nature. Water erodes stone. Wind shapes mountains. Bamboo bends with the storm and survives. Rigid trees break. Softness in the Taoist sense is not weakness. It is resilience, receptivity, and rootedness. It is the ability to stay open when others close, to remain calm when others panic, to respond without losing your center. In human terms, this strength looks like remaining kind in the face of cruelty, not from fear, but from grounded presence. Choosing silence instead of defensiveness in an argument. Walking away from toxic dynamics not out of retreat, but out of clarity. Wu Wei is the embodiment of this strength. It is not reactive, not emotional, not impulsive. It is poised, deliberate, and calm. It allows situations to unfold and responds without force. Softness also enables connection. You cannot be close to someone from a place of domination. Real intimacy, real collaboration requires the strength to be vulnerable, to be seen without defenses. It takes far more courage to open than to attack, to listen than to shout, to stay still than to strike. This is the path of soft power, the power of the Tao. In a world obsessed with appearing strong, Wu Wei invites us to be strong quietly, deeply, unshakably. Creativity cannot be forced. Ask any artist and they will tell you the muse arrives when it wants, not when summoned. The best work comes not from effort, but from surrender. This is Wu Wei in its purest form, action arising from emptiness. Many creators have described this state: a writer whose words flow without thinking, a musician who disappears into the melody, a painter whose hand moves without plan. In these moments, the self vanishes. There is no striving, no trying to be creative. There is just doing and being done through. This is the Tao in motion. The creator becomes a conduit, not a controller. The process becomes the goal. Time dissolves. Joy appears not as reward, but as a companion. Creativity dies in tension. When we try too hard, we block the very energy we're trying to harness. Wu Wei offers an antidote: relax into the unknown. Trust the rhythm. Follow the impulse. Allow the form to find you. This isn't just poetry, it's supported by neuroscience. During creative flow, brain regions linked to self-monitoring and judgment quiet down. The inner critic steps aside. What's left is intuition, spontaneity, expression. To practice Wu Wei as a creator, begin without expectation. Create for the sake of creating. When stuck, stop. Go for a walk. Wash dishes, let space return. Trust the process more than the outcome. Let your hands, not your mind, lead. Every true artist knows that their best work didn't come from control, it came from surrender. In that surrender is a deep joy, a sense of union with something larger. Wu Wei reminds us that creativity is not a performance, it's a partnership with the Tao. And when we trust it, it moves through us in beautiful, unpredictable ways. Life has a strange way of giving us what we need, just not always when or how we expect it. Have you ever met the right person at the exact right time? Found an opportunity after you gave up looking? Realized that a setback was secretly a setup? These are moments of serendipity, the Tao in action. Wu Wei is the art of creating space for these moments. It's not superstition. It's alignment. When you stop forcing outcomes, you stop blocking flow. When you trust timing, you become sensitive to subtle signals. When you act from clarity, life meets you halfway. The path that unfolds when you stop pushing is often far more beautiful than the one you planned. But to walk it, you must be willing to release your grip. Say yes to uncertainty. Follow threads of curiosity instead of rigid maps. Serendipity isn't random. It's what happens when your inner world synchronizes with the outer one. When your being becomes so present, so attuned, that you begin to see the invisible lines connecting everything. In Taoist terms, this is Te, the virtue or power that arises when we're in harmony with the Tao. Things fall into place. People arrive, doors open. Not because you chase them, but because you were ready, receptive, awake. This is not magic, it's awareness, and it's deeply practical. A job offer comes because you had the energy to notice a passing conversation. A solution appears because you gave the problem space. A love deepens because you stopped trying to control it. When you stop pressing life for answers, life whispers them in your ear. When you step back, the next step appears. This is the unforced path, the one that feels like a gentle unfolding. It is available always, but it requires that you trust what you cannot yet see. If there is one image that captures the entirety of Wu Wei, it is water. Lao Tzu wrote, "Be like water." Water benefits all things and does not compete. It dwells in lowly places that others disdain. It flows where it is needed. It adapts. It nourishes. Water is humble. It doesn't shout. It doesn't struggle. And yet it shapes the world. This is the ultimate lesson of Wu Wei, to live like water. What does that mean practically? Flow around obstacles instead of fighting them. Adapt to each moment without losing your essence. Nourish others without seeking credit. Wait patiently, move decisively, act without ego. To be like water is to stop pretending we are in charge of everything. It is to live with grace, with quiet power, with trust in the Tao. And this is not just a temporary mindset. Wu Wei is not a technique. It is a way of life. It means waking each day with awareness, not urgency. Moving from center, not compulsion. Acting from wisdom, not fear. Letting life surprise you, not trying to outwit it. It means living the questions, not just chasing answers. It means seeing beauty in simplicity, peace in pauses, truth in silence. To live this way, you don't need to retreat to a mountain. You simply need to return to your breath, to your body, to the moment. Wu Wei doesn't remove responsibility. It refines it. You still show up. You still do. But you no longer overdo. You no longer push the river, you let it carry you. In that surrender, you find a deeper power. A power not born of struggle, but of presence. A life not of performance, but of participation. So be like water, gentle, persistent, clear. Flow without force. Act without strain. Live without resistance. For in doing so, you do not lose yourself. You find the self that was always one with the way.